Hello and welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we got Meng's latest release. This is the 1/24th scale. That's right, 1/24th scale, not 1/32nd scale. That's a totally different kit. Fokker DR1 triplane. So again, we'll just say it now because again, there's a little bit of confusion going on. This is two completely separate kits. This is obviously the old Wingnut Wings one, 1/32nd scale, that obviously Meng popped out for us very nicely. We've done a full review of that. I'll put the link down below. This one is the big brother of it. This is actually the actual 1/24th scale, which to be honest in World War I aircraft is still a nice size. You know, often I talk about tabletop size or cutting mat size to be able to work on. It's not taking up half your room and all the rest of it. This is definitely one of those kits. Anyway, as we can see, this particular kit does come in two flavours. Basically, you've got, this is the standard one because I'm cheap. And I do pay for all my kits, for all the reviews. So they do another one with the Blue Max, which is obviously the medal into it. It's a lot more expensive, but if you are into collector's items, things like that, that's probably the kit you're going to go for. But this is just the standard one straight out of the box. Okay, so having a little bit of a run round, you can see very nice job on this one. As I say, it's got the usual things. This is that, which one's this? Is this the Tyrannosaurus or Pterosaur version? So it is QS003, okay, on this particular one. So running around on the box, you can see we've got colour callouts by AK. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so down in there, you've got this one down there. So basically it's QS003 is your number on this one. Beautiful markings, like that is, if that doesn't float your boat, even if you're not a World War I fan, it's just that markings is beautiful. Very, very nice indeed with the stripy pattern like on there. A little bit of info about that one and we'll round to the front again. So in the box you are greeted by, stand up, stand up. There we go, trusty tape. We've got a win cash prizes and all the rest of it, gump sheet. Okay, so we've got separate bagged, as Mengs always do. And to be honest with you, you can see it is quite full. This isn't a half empty box here. Gives you an idea of the scaling. So we've got fuselage and bits down in there. Let me just move my coffee. Okay, and we've got the wings, again, separate bagged, which is quite nice. We've got the tail planes, obviously cockpit details, props, things like that as well. All right. We've got some clear parts, obviously not much of that in there. We've got cowlings, more props. So we've got 4 different versions of props that I've seen in here already. Cowlings, and obviously we've got the little bit between the gear. We've got that, which we'll look at in a moment. Okay, we've got a match pair for wheels, and again, we've got various different types of wheels. And again, if they are one piece, yes it is. So obviously we've got the ailerons down in there like that. We've got the engine detail, again, so actually very nice indeed. We've got this, which again, this is a classic where I wasn't aware that it did come with this. So this is the Turnbuckle Set. So we've got gun sights in there, it looks like a little bit of harnesses, and the shroud, is it? Are they turnbuckles? No, obviously it's just the patch ones. We've got a huge, as you might imagine for the scale, Decal Sheet, as you can see, and it looks like we've got fabric harnesses, which is a very nice touch as well. We have the instructions, so as always we'll start down in here. So just down in half, out. We have their cards. So these are the collector cards, one with all the details. Again, find your language. Okay, so we've got the Flying Dutchman and the Fokker Scourge, as you can see down in there as well. Various bits. So pick your language, you got those as well. So that's quite nice. All right. And then we've got the instruction book, which actually, considering the size of the kit, is quite small. I was expecting something bigger. But again, really very nicely laid out. We saw this with the 32nd one as well. So straight into it here. There's 4 different versions we can do in here, as you can see. So we've got the ones down in there. So obviously making sure you get your right props and details for each particular one. So as we saw before, we have got in here fabric, wherever they are, I've lost them now, whatever they were. I did see them somewhere, there they are. So down in here we've got these, which are the fabric for making up the actual lap belts. I didn't know they had shoulder harnesses in those days. I thought it was just lap belts. But anyway, that's those ones going down in there. And then obviously starting into it. And again, taking a lot of cues, as we know, from the now defunct Wingnut Wings. We've got various colour call-outs and detailed painting guide of exactly how it goes. And again, we've seen this before. Really nice to show you exactly how the harnesses go. So it does talk about they slide through, they bolt down at the back, the type of hang you're looking for them, things like that right the way through. Then we're working up with all the cockpit details, as you might imagine, and again another nice touchdown in here showing you these red parts are the bits to be removed. Again, making sure you cut them at the correct angles, so you might have a sprue tab coming in and it shows you how it should be cut and removed from it as well, and whereabouts, which again is a very nice touch. Okay, so we got those working up with all the framework for the internals for the actual cockpit, and then obviously we've got the various grips, the gyros, the various things down in there as you go through, right the way through. Again, talking about another harness being fitted through and how the actual lap belts fit in and how they should twist around the framework. So again, that's another nice touch with it. So it is showing you exactly what you need to know. And then again, the wiring. So obviously we've got everything for, this is, I presume, is the rudders going down to the rudder cabling right the way through, showing you how it should be done with the different colours. And again, the actual framework with the blues, showing you the different ones which are going to be making up the details down in there. Internal colour guides as well, showing you the different parts, how they're done, and obviously opening up various holes down in here before you bring both halves together. And now we're just going to be running through. So we got the sort of the bulkhead with the actual engine. Can't really call it a firewall, I don't think, but that's in. This is what these are. So they're not turnbuckles and things. These are actually the patches in photo etch, which then going to be externals onto this one as it would have in real life, which is fair enough. Okay, so all the details, got the tail being fitted down in there, all the various bits in them, and then we're into the wing section. So it's talking about nicking out some little areas, opening up these as well depending on which wings you're working on. Top and half, lower halves, top halves, medium halves, and all the other wings going in. Just imagine there's lots of them on this particular one, being the triplane. So it's talking about all the different ones and how they're going to wire in and go in with all of these. Okay, then obviously getting it all together, putting them in. Another beautiful touch with this is that we do get the gun shroud, so that you can see here, and the sights are in photo etch as well, which we'll look at. So again, that's a lovely attention to detail, especially in this scale as well. So we've got those all being fitted down in here, so that's fair enough, and those being fitted on and put into position. Okay, and again showing you the dials, how they're going to be fitting and how they're supposed to line up. So there is a slight height difference in them, various things as well. Nice attention to detail in amongst it. More wings. As you can imagine, there's quite a few to do, to nick out and take parts out. So top wing being fitted on there, and again ailerons being fitted down in there, the pulleys, things like that as you go through. The wheel system for the lower one with the brace being fitted down in there as well, and then obviously that being fitted in, and talking about the various bits in there. Engine, so over to the engine. As we know, we get a fully detailed nice engine right the way through, that one being fitted down into there, and then depending on obviously versions, you've got your different props in there finishing that off. And then we've got the little wiring guide as well, showing you about the actual wiring on this one. And amazingly, this thing doesn't have a billion wires on it, so it has just got a few down in here as well, fitting those on. As you can see, they are brought to your attention right the way through. Again, color call outs, they are absolutely fantastic. I think you agree on that. Beautiful job on these. So pick the version you want to do, and again, very, very colorful ones in all of these. I think all of these look absolutely stunning. Okay, so again, the wallpaper ones, as I call them, very, very nice right the way through. Color call outs again down the back here, and a Cryoson, whoever they are, I've never heard of them, so there we go. So that's them as well. So usual things, you can easily do a straightforward conversion on that. Very similar obviously to the smaller version. Looks very, very nice indeed. Okay, we've got the world's thickest staples holding this lot together, and I don't think you'll be pulling them apart easily. So no expense spared on the staples in here, that's for certain. Let me just try and do this with my industrial fingernails. There we go. Okay, so we've got these, which we were talking about. So this is the actual fabricy bits for them. Die cut right the way through, so they are punched in here, so you can easily get them apart. And then, like I always say, roll them up in your hand, break the fibres, get them all sort of manipulated, and you'll find threading them through is so much easier. I know some people even soak them in water in that, but I don't sort of go along with that. I usually just put them in your hold, roll them into bowls, get the fibres all moving, and you'll notice they will go together so much easier. So Decal Sheet is huge. Very, very nice. The first thing it grabs me is they're quite flat, which isn't always a bad thing, but they are definitely, catch it in the light, a very flat finish to them, which, like I've often said, you can go over flat purely because if you're then going to have to, say you're putting this down on a satin finish, you've got to flat it back to this level to be able to then go forward. So sometimes it does, but you can see they are beautifully done, no problems with those at all. Everything looks good. Register. The carrier film as well, the way that they've sort of done it on the anchors, I think shows it quite well. Again, you might want perhaps not quite as much in there, but you know, fair enough. That's the rest of them are very, very things. The crosses, definitely, there's hardly any carrier film to any of the other areas. It's literally just those. And then obviously the Fokker markings down in here for the versions as well. Luckily, not much stencil data. If you're not a fan of that type of thing, you'll be happy. Right, let's keep those out of the way. Okay, next thing to look at is this little guy. So this is a little box of tricks. We've got a little bit of foam in here. Oh my word. Okay, right. That is absolutely beautiful. So as you can see down in here, we have an absolutely exquisite bit of photo etch. And to be honest, it's quite thin. I thought it would be thicker than that. So that's your gun sights, and these are those patch holes for the guides coming through, some of the other details, and now obviously the rest of this lot is for the harness system, which we've got the fabric belts as well. So again, there's no actual turnbuckles with it. I do apologise for saying that, I was wrong. But you've got some very nice harnesses straight off the bat. But to be honest, the highlight for me, forget all of that, is these. So look at these gun barrels. So this is the heat jackets, or your shrouds. But actually, I thought you were going to have to roll them yourself. I actually thought this was going to be photo etch and you're going to have to try and roll it into a cylinder. And let's face it, if you're like me, that's actual hell. But they're not. They are actually done, and they are one piece, already been turned and all the rest of it, shrouds. So obviously you'd take your gun sight off of this end, stick it onto here. You've got your barrel going through to the rest of the gun, and you are good to go. That's absolutely exquisite, beautifully done. And also, hats off, packaging, very nice indeed. So we've got your packaging just down in here like this. I'm going to put it all back and keep it nice. Look at that. There we go, world. You can learn a thing or two here. Everyone says about, you know, the wing that wings of this world and everything else like that. Well, this is Meng doing a stellar job at it as well. Okay, taking the mantle and running on with it. So again, that's your little box. If I put the lid shut, we'll be all right. There we go, we're in. So very, very nice indeed with that one. Whilst we're just in here, there's no point really getting it off because it is what it is. There's a couple of clear parts. There isn't many. You've got the little patch windows to see, and then obviously we've got the windshields on there. A couple ones for the lights, things like that, so that's fair enough. Right, so let's dive straight into the big sprues. Why do I always get the ones with staples? Okay, so Sprue F, as you can see just down in here, very, very nice indeed. No problems at all that I can see. It's typical Meng in its style, as in its smoothness. Good, strong, solid, I think is the way to describe it. All too often you're looking at these kits and it puts the fear of God in you because you think you're going to be really fragile. No problems here, as you can see. So if we run around in here, we can see the fuselage halves. Again, because it's all fabric and that's not a great deal to see, we have got some details running around the sides and obviously underneath the front areas, things down in there. But generally, if we walk up the wings, you can see we've got the actual stitching texture has been put into them right the way through. And even on the tail, you can see we've actually got the former pushing through. We've got that under guard down in there, or is that the top or the underside? I think that's the top actually, that's the top as well. So we've got the guns going to be raising over those. And again, for those wing sections, and then the bottom, you can see you've got a little bit of texture down. It's very difficult to see because of the webbing, but it actually has got former pushing through right the way through. And again, on the flip side, you can see these wings, really good strong internals into these. So they might look very delicate, but actually good solid construction right the way through, and on the inside as well. Very, very nice indeed. And again, nice touch with these. Down at the back here, we've got these holes. They're numbered. So these have actually got the numbers on these for opening up the ones you want to do. So again, that's another very nice touch as well. So you can see exactly what it's going to be doing down under here. So that's actually quite nice. All the parts do say DR1 on them, as if it's going to be for something else. But yeah, very, very good indeed. Right, let's move that down in there. Okay, wing section. We've got to be a little careful. This is pushing through this back area. But we can just pop this little guy open. Okay, so as you can see, here we are on Sprue B. And again, really very, very nice indeed. I think if we just start at the top here, you can see we've got that detail coming through. It's very difficult to show it on a flat finish of the plastic, but you can hopefully see it's got beautiful stitching details right the way through. It's got a lovely rolled edge just on the back of this edge. You probably just see the light catching onto it. Really very, very nice indeed. We've got those wings. Top wing, as you can see, stretched nice and tight, looking good, stitching, and again you've got that very faint with the actual wrapping on the back of the edges as well as it will come through. This little guy down in here, I think that's for the undercarriage as well, so that's actually very nice done. But again, looking on the blind side, you can see how this is going to lock together and go in. It's tabbed and it's all hooked and geared and everything. Good, strong details. This isn't something where it sort of just pops together. You can probably see down under here how that will actually rotate, and it's going to go up, and it's going to be a proper former all the way through on these. So actually that's very, very nicely done indeed. It should make for good, strong, solid construction. Okay, so next up on Sprue A, as you can see, we've got some very nice stuff going down in here. Loads of bits and pieces going over. We start on here at the top. We've got the stitching seam between the two going right the way through. We've got the pedals, we've got the internal framework, we've got the seat down in here, we've got the floor, we've got the stretch of the fabric right the way over it. There's literally so much detail. Okay, so these are these guns which are jacketed on here as well. So I assume you put that one slides over the top of this one, and then the end one goes in. So you don't have to use the shroud, obviously you would, but you've got sort of both realms of it down in there as well. There's the tail, looking really very, very nicely done right the way through. If we work up through here, we've got the engine mount, all the various parts. We've got the flare gun even in here as well. All the cockpit items, we've got all the plumbing, we've got the gun feeds, all the various small bits. We got the wing struts, different types of gun. Okay, so maybe you do end up with both guns. So what you've got is one with shrouds, if you've got them. If you want to put your own ones on, then they are here as well. So again, you'll just slide those over the fronts on the back, and you are good to go with those. Again, really very well thought out, good clean stuff. All the ejector pins are just slightly shallow, which is nice, apart from you got the obligatory off ones, which these usually don't care, don't matter, but everything else where they are literally just below the surface. A couple of swipes with a sanding stick on that and they're gone. It's not going to take much to get rid of these. They are literally just slightly raised or just slightly flush. They're very, very close. Beautiful, very nice. Okay, so we have down in here, we've got the props and the thing. Well, stab myself. Okay. Okay. So again, very, very nice. Here we go with the fronts, the props, depending on which ones you're doing. And the front on Sprue H, which is very nice. And then we've got the engine parts just down in here again. Really very, very nice. If we do both, you can see fantastic detail on these engines. That will take a paint and wash beautifully. Very, very nice. Obviously it's a rotary engine, so you've got all those air vanes and everything else beautifully done. We've got the exhausts down here at the back looking really, really nice. We've got the plugs and all the different areas down in here. Got all the pot heads looking fantastic. The level of detail in this actually is really very, very nice indeed. And again, nothing anyone can complain about there. Very nice. Okay, so last up down in here we've got a match pair. So what we've actually got is exactly the same. So down in here we've got the ailerons for the sides on Sprue D. And then again, looking at the smaller parts, you can see them up here. We've got the wheels, the wing struts, some of the smaller parts, and obviously these down in here. I presume this is the rudder and the various items down in here for the pulleys. Again, really very nice indeed. And the wheels are all named. They've actually got markings moulded into them and all the usual bits. So that's actually a really nice touch with that as well. Good level of detail right the way through on this one. So I suppose the big thing you want to know is that how does it compare with size if you're thinking of a 1/32 to doing it. So it just so happens we've got the 32nd scale one down in here. So to put this into context, if I grab the fuselage sprue for a second, and then we grab the fuselage sprue just to do as a direct comparison, down in here you'll see the difference in size. As you can see, it's a lot. This isn't one of these things where it's just a small little item. I think obviously if we do a side by side, you can see how big the differences is. There is quite a substantial size difference between the two. So you are going to be making up something a lot bigger. Obviously we did this exactly the same thing when we were doing the last review between 35th and 32nd. Well, this is 24th versus. Hopefully you can see now. That's a huge difference in this one. So if we look at like the wing sections down the top there, how different those are. Big old difference between the two on these ones. And again, these ones here, these are one-piece wings right the way through. These are two-piece wings purely because of the size of them. They are absolutely huge. So yes, definitely one of those ones that a good indication on the thing of scale there. And that's the beauty with it though. This is still, when this is built, is going to be a nice size just on here on the cutting mat. These ones over here are a little bit smaller. I've done lots of wing nut wings, 32nd ones, got them all over there again, and they build up to be something what I call very nice. If you're like me and you struggle perhaps with the finer details of rigging and turnbuckles and all the detail bits and that, and if it's nice of it in a slightly bigger scale, this will be fantastic for you. World War I aircraft are one of the few which I think 24th scale is a really nice scale for it, because then you're looking into the realms of sort of a 32nd scale, World War II fighter, things like that, and it's a really nice overall scale. But I have to say, that's a beautiful kit. Again, I know there's lots of speculation going on about wing nut wings, that this isn't, this is Meng's. Okay, so again, it just shows really how good they are at coming along and doing it, especially when you put it up against obviously a wing nut wings kit versus a Meng kit. Beautiful details, the design's very nice, no problem with any other parts, and it should go together and absolute fantastic. And the great thing all about it, you've got everything out of the back, so you've got all your harnesses straight away that you need, you've actually got the actual barrels and things like that for the guns, and they are normal bits you might put in as extras on top of other manufacturers, shall we say, doing 32nd scale stuff. All together right the way in one kit. What's not to love about it? So there we go, that's the fantastic Focke-Wulf DR1 triplane 1/24th scale by Meng.